Well, hey everyone. Hello out there. Hello from Dallas. I think we're live. What do you think? You think we're live?
I'm alive.
I'm alive. I don't know about you. Well, barely because it's been a really busy week. So far, it's only Wednesday, but it's just been a really busy week. How about you? As busy? No?
I'm always busy. You know that. Don't even talk to me.
So I do all of the meeting of new buyers. And so I've been really busy. We have 7 new buyers this week. And then Dale does more of the interacting with the ones that are under contract, showing homes. So he's just busy in a different way. So we're like in the same house and we're both really busy.
Oh, we're in the house?
Yeah, last time I checked. Well, it's not just us being busy. The market has been pretty busy too. Lots going on in the market. And we wanted to talk to you guys about that today, kind of we're headed into fall. All the kiddos are back in school. And we wanted to give you, well, actually our kiddo is not back in school, but most kiddos.
Next week.
Yeah, most kiddos are back in school at this point. So we wanted to give you guys some information about the fall housing market so you can kind of know going in. A lot of people are always surprised when I tell them if they have the option to wait until fall to buy, because the market's always friendlier to buyers. You can always get better prices. So we're going to see that today. But first, let's talk about the biggest change going on right now, which is mortgage rates. Mortgage rates dropping to the lowest level since May of 2023. Let's take a look at this. Mortgage rates in the U.S. tumbled to the lowest level in more than a year. So I have to know how many of you guys watching knew that. Like, are you keeping track? Did you know? Because pretty big change. The average for a 30-year fixed loan, and let's check the date on this. Okay, so this was August 8th, so a little bit older. The average for a 30-year fixed loan was 6.47%, the lowest since May of 2023, and down from 6.73% last week. So I thought that was a pretty big deal. I was like, whoa, in 1 week? I mean, no wonder people are using the word plummet. I was like, that's pretty impressive. In 1 week, it went from 6.73 to 6.47. So that's a pretty significant drop, and that's going to affect the market. Rates this week followed along with 10-year Treasury yields, which slid after July's sluggish jobs report triggered fears of a recession. All right. Federal Reserve policymakers are widely expected to cut the benchmark lending rate at their September meeting, a move that may drive home loan costs even lower and further ease pressure on buyers who've been holding back on purchases. So interest rates down. Federal Reserve looking at a rate cut in September.
Which we have to remember that the Fed rate cuts do not directly affect the mortgage rates.
Right.
There are multiple things that affect the mortgage rates. The Fed is a completely different animal.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, so it's like a pattern, they tend to correlate, but they're also impacted by inflation, so a lot that
demand.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that for sure. So, yeah. Okay, so let's get back to the article. Let's see what we have here. Let's see. Federal Reserve policy makers are widely expected. Okay, I think I read that one. Mortgage rates. Oh, I love this word. Let's just feel it. Mortgage rates plunged. It's about time. I wonder how many people know what the Nestea plunge is. Is that like totally our generation?
Should we show a video?
I don't know. I just wonder how many of you guys out there actually know what that is. Mortgage rates plunged following the likely overreaction to a less than favorable employment report and financial market turbulence for an economy that remains on solid footing. Okay, so says Sam Cater, Freddie Mac's chief economist. He said that in the statement, the decline does increase prospective homebuyers' purchasing power and should begin to pique their interest in making a move. So I think that's interesting. That they're kind of seeing already that there's a difference between, the minute rates go down, affordability increases. There's like an inverse. Is that an inverse relationship? Rates down, affordability better? Yeah, I think so. Am I getting that right?
I guess so.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, depends on what else happens though because of the rates going down.
Yeah, that is true. Lots of variables, lots of things happening right now in the market. I mean, and the backdrop being that we're headed into an election too. So, I mean, just it's going to be interesting to see how that impacts anything. So we're looking at the rates coming down. Let's see what has to happen. Okay. When's it going to happen and whether or not the Fed is going to act in September. So this article by CNN, the Fed's about to do something it hasn't done since the pandemic. All right, let's take a look at this. That investors are entirely convinced that the Fed will cut rates at their September meeting, according to Fed funds futures data. And a growing share of investors are betting the Fed will opt for a half-point cut. Wow. Though the majority believe the central bank will do a quarter point. So I think that's like, wow, a half-point jump. That would be pretty aggressive, I think, to do a whole half-point cut. So I think that'll be interesting too to see, like September. Election in November, up there the Fed goes finally after what is it? Has it been like 2 years that they've been holding at their higher rate?
Yep.
So yeah, interesting stuff. There's no what will it take for the Fed to cut in September? Well, big answer here, guys. There's no formula. Yeah, I mean a straight answer would be too much to ask for. Let's see here now.
Because they don't know.
Yeah. Powell provided some rough sketches saying that if inflation moves down more quickly or stays in line with Fed officials' expectations while economic growth remains reasonably strong and the labor market continues along the path it's on, a cut in September could be on the table. Bring it to the table. Is that what we want? But if upcoming inflation data shows an unexpected rise, which happened in the first quarter of this year, that could cause officials to further delay cutting rates. Okay, so this is what Jay Powell had to say. On the other hand, if the labor market were to weaken unexpectedly or inflation were to fall more quickly than anticipated, we are prepared to respond, Powell said, implying that this would lead the central bank to lower rates. So they could, potentially even act before September.
Well, they already had the weaker jobs report from July. So
I've been working.
Saying that they just haven't been showing the real numbers.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said of that. I have been working on a video, and one of the quotes in it said, I'm trying to remember exactly how to put it, but it said something like, once the unemployment numbers are moving this quickly or this aggressively, that historically speaking, the only thing that stops it is a rate cut. So in terms of like, maybe unemployment goes down next month. Well, not according to that article that I was reading, putting it in one of my videos. It was saying, that same thing, that like at this point, historically, anytime you see this kind of movement, like month over month, it takes the Fed's intervention to slow it down. So I'm very interested to see like, what's the next thing that's going to happen here. One thing that I think is really interesting is this whole time that we've been dealing with inflation, housing has been like a really big contributor. Because like with the CPI measurement, the housing sector, they call it housing, and it's the rental part of it, but that accounts for like a huge part of it.
The cost.
Yeah. And so since rents were so high, you were constantly seeing higher inflation because of housing playing such a huge role. And plus, when rents are on a 1-year lease, it doesn't change immediately, right? So interesting thing that's happening now, as I was reading, right? Interesting that I think this is really good, is that housing is now dragging inflation down. Okay, so all this time we've had this issue with housing causing the numbers to be elevated. Interesting now that we're seeing the reverse. And I want to show you this because it's really interesting how it's playing out.
I mean, we've been seeing this year rents come down, and so that's probably helped some. And it has been a slower market. We had a much slower spring, at least here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We did, than we normally do, spring and summer.
Like just being on Facebook, you're just kind of scrolling and whatnot. I'm seeing so many more homes for lease posted over and over and over again. Whereas it used to be like if they got posted at all, they'd be leased the next day.
Yeah.
and instead I'm seeing like these, very diligent property managers. They keep reposting and reposting, home for lease, still for lease, still for lease. So there's just not filling. And I see them dropping on their price too. So I'm seeing that within like the single family sector. I'm not really sure going in, what's going on with multifamily apartments and whatnot.
There's been a lot more. There's been a large increase in the number of apartments being built. Complexes being built. That is
definitely true. Anyway, so this is interesting about how, because you guys are not you probably did not expect this at all, but we're talking about a ripple effect, so you got to read that. Let me read this to you, okay?
Ripples.
Ready? Okay. Furniture retailers like Wayfair suffer as fewer people buy homes. Dramatic. Did you like that? I mean, just like kind of, they suffer. Put that out there. But this is that ripple effect, right? People probably wouldn't think about this. Slower housing market, furniture stores are hurting. Okay. It's not a great time to be in the furniture business. This week, Wayfair reported a $42 million loss in the last quarter. The company's CEO compared the current drop in demand for home goods to be compared to the 2008 financial crisis. So, I mean, we're talking that's a huge loss for one furniture retailer, and then for them to be like, hey, this is as bad as it was in 2008, and it's coming, and it's housing that's delivering that. Okay, so very interesting there. I think that furniture stores are hurting. $42 million loss. Okay. Let me see here. This next one. Turns out the furniture industry is feeling some collateral damage from a stuck housing market. With mortgage rates still elevated, people aren't buying many new houses. That means they also aren't buying many new beds, dressers, or nightstands to fill those houses, per Neil Saunders, a retail analyst at Global Data. The home furnishing industry is really in the doldrums at the moment. Like that, the doldrums. We've had a couple of years of very, very sluggish performance. And I can't help but wonder, like for furniture stores, if this is like a rags to riches or riches to rags kind of thing.
Brandy and Jason.
Well, thanks. I'm sure they loved that you put them on.
They don't know there.
Anyway, no, I think this is really interesting because like during the pandemic, right, everybody's moving. They were probably like super busy. Plus interest rates were so low that they could leverage things and cheap money. And now we're kind of at this other point where everything has slowed down. I know we haven't, gotten anything from Wayfair in a while. I love our porch furniture that we got from them. We have some great furniture out by our pool. I love that. But yeah, so I know that we probably are an example of that, although we're not moving, I guess, so that,
we don't count.
I guess we really don't count. But I think that is really an interesting, I think that is a ripple effect in the right direction. And how many other ways is housing affecting inflation so that we can see inflation coming down? And really, like we just read, for the Fed to really see and feel good about lowering those rates, they need to see it come down. Yeah. So I kind of feel like we are definitely ripple effect heading that way, right? Right. I mean, like that's kind of how I'm seeing it.
Been 2 years. Wow. Maybe that Fed hasn't been looking hard enough.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point. Excellent point. So I'm seeing personally a really interesting opportunity coming up. I am. I really am. Okay. No, I really am. And I think it's unusual because like a couple of years ago, yes, I am going to tell all. A couple of years ago, or maybe it was just a year ago, I did a series of videos, in fact, where I talked about how, is it the right time to buy? And I said, it just depends on what you want. Because if you want rock bottom prices, or you want the best deal one way or the other, or the lowest monthly payment, like if you want like rock bottom prices, you want to buy when rates are high, right? Because less people in the market. But then if you want like the lower monthly payments, you want to buy when rates are low. And so it's interesting that I put that video out now, because now I'm kind of like, am I kind of eating crow here? Because I think this is an interesting opportunity. Usually when rates go down, right, prices go up because people have more buying power. Right? Things are more affordable. I mean, even like a half point.
Supply and demand.
Yeah. I mean, like if, even a half point, I saw somebody doing the numbers and just like a 0.5% drop, suddenly they have so many. Well, and it's not even just that certain people have more buying power, but you have this whole sector of people that suddenly can enter the housing market.
Or just wish to because they've been waiting for that.
Or they've been waiting. Yeah. But, and here's where I think the opportunity comes in, is where it's happening. Okay. It's happening in the fall and winter, right? And usually all the people that had to move during the summer are done, right? Because it's fall. You don't see nearly as many buyers out there. I mean, now for us personally, I'm not gonna lie, it's our busiest time. Like, we are so busy in the fall because all during the year when we're talking to our buyers, we're like, listen, if you can do anything at all about it, if you can buy in the fall, you're gonna get better prices. So they always kind of think I'm crazy. Like, wait, you're encouraging me not to buy? Nobody does that. But I'm like, we're team you. And if we can get you a lower price, then that's what we want to do. So we've got this opportunity now to where, so slower demand, even if rates go down, right? Because not that many people buy in the fall and winter. That's a good point, because that's what I've been kind of wondering is, how are they? Because usually Dallas is like really rate sensitive. And so I'm like, okay, how many people are going to be like, oh, interest rates are down, I'm going to jump in the market at Halloween?
Yeah. I wonder, well, also there's a ton of inventory out there too. So maybe they will jump in and start buying it. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I saw some, I think maybe Fannie Mae it was, I read an article that it was saying like they projected rates to be somewhere around 6, here fairly soon by the end of the year. And I'm like, will that cause people to jump into the market? I mean, think about it. We're talking families, they got their kids in school. I mean, maybe they've been talking about moving, but now's not the time, right? Thanksgiving, Christmas. So I
don't know. It sounds like exciting times to move.
Oh, so you would like to move then? Okay, that's fine. You can do it.
Extra stress and stuff.
Yeah, just a little. So I think that we may combine slower demand, fewer buyers, and so this is where it's really interesting with the Fed lowering rates. So to have both of those together, I would say that is really unusual. Okay. So we might find a window. Do you like this picture, by the way? I had a lot of fun with this. Picture. Yeah. May find a window when both prices and rates go down at the same time.
I guess I could see possibly that we could start that way. And I guess we would have to see how much, and then they might start going up a lot, especially if people are looking at a lot of new construction, because builders are been talking for over a year now that if rates come down, they're going to increase prices. So so I don't know. We'll see.
So, you would,
it'll be interesting.
It really will. Cause you would expect if rates go down that you're going to get more buyers, but if buyers are like, this is the wrong time to buy and they don't enter the market after all, window of opportunity. But then you're right, by summer or the spring season, when prices usually go up, when more people enter the market, could be pretty intense.
May make it hotter springtime. I don't know. We'll see.
That would not surprise me. So if we probably still maybe see like a kind of a stale winter like we usually do, and I'm going to show you some stats in a minute to kind of show you what happens.
We may need to be ready right now.
I got some data coming up, boys. People, I like my data. Anyway, so I think that's going to be really interesting. I feel like the fall and winter months could be a good opportunity, and this is coming from a person who routinely tells buyers, don't buy, if it's the middle of summer and I'm like, if you have a choice, wait, so this is me saying, this could be a good opportunity. Not a whole lot of buyers and interest rates going down. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens over the next few months. And obviously we've got next few weeks and months. Yeah. So I want to show you this. Okay, because I'm not just talking about seasonal price declines. I'm not just saying that. It's actually like real proven data. This is also something I'm using in a video I'm working on as well, where I'm talking about like seasonal price declines, June to January. Every June, roughly thereabout. Sometimes it's a month before, a month after. Usually, we see the apex.
That's the average decrease, 9.2%.
Right. Yeah. So usually in June, we see the average peak of the year, right? So this is not year over year data. This is seasonal declines that I'm talking about. So in June, we see the peak of the prices. By January, we drop every time. So you can see like 2014, 9% drop in 6 months. Okay. And that was a perfectly normal year. There wasn't anything drastic there. And then 2015 to 2016, same thing, an 8.8% drop. Okay. So again, not year over year, but summer over winter, right? Summer, then winter, June to January. Then again, June to January, 9.4%. And again, these are not recession years. There's nothing extraordinary going on. This is just the gift that Dallas brings us. So, and then 2017 to 2018, 9%. Okay, so 9% drop. So you can see so far every year, these really aggressive, even if you weren't like a stellar negotiator or anything, like these decreases, they just happen because people don't enter the market during the winter months. I mean, who wants to move during Christmas? Our buyers do. Yeah. But 2018, 8.7% decrease. 2019, 9.2%. Now this next one that I have in yellow here, that was an increase. Any guesses as to why? Look at that year.
Really low rates.
Yes. So that was the year the Fed had us at 3%. Okay. For reasons that none of us, I mean, it was just, it just
craziness.
Put the housing market completely out of whack. But yeah, so that's the only year that we had an increase. And then 2021 to 2022, we saw 9.6% increase. Decrease. Okay. Year over year. 2023 to 2024. Well, then we've got the 8.7%, and then most recently 9.3%. So to me, that's really telling. I mean, to me, that's a very strong, like when I look back at historical trends and I'm trying to predict what's going to happen, looking at historical trends. Okay, that's huge because it happens every single year. Like there's never a year it doesn't happen unless interest rates are 3%, unless we have like a buying frenzy. So to me, that's very telling. That gives me a lot of confidence knowing this is exactly where we're headed. Will it be as aggressive as last year, at 9.3%? Will it be that much with rates going down?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's
really good.
Yeah, I mean, if we get more buyers entering into the market because the rates are going down, maybe it's not as much, but still, historically speaking, this is what we see, right? So we see these price drops. Now, are they already happening?
Price drops?
Yeah, we already are watching it. In fact, as I'm doing like market research and stuff, we're already seeing these prices come down. Denton County down 1.1%. And again, it's a slide. So if you can picture 6 months, usually dropping by 8 or 9%, right? This is what you would expect, down, 1.1%. In Collin County, down 3.3%. So it could be that Collin County is going to drop more this year than Denton County, right? Now, Rockwall County, to me, this was an anomaly. I was looking at it going, man, what's going on in Rockwall County? Up. Actually 8.4%. So that really surprised me. I was like, what's going on, Collin County? That you're up when everybody else, or Rockwall County, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, that you're up.
Everybody wants to go to the lake.
I guess so. Dallas County down 0.7%. Kaufman County, all right, you ready for this? Down 8% already. So what is Kaufman County going to do over the whole next, this is the first month of this big drop. What are we going to see in Kaufman County? To me, that's like carnage if we see that much. And yes, it is trending, but you'd have to think about trends. But still, I'm very interested to see what. To me, Kaufman County is a hot spot to look for. And then something a little more boring. Ellis County 0. So not seeing a whole lot of movement there.
There hasn't been a lot of movement in general down there. So.
Yeah. Just it's probably more of a lack of data because there's just so many things on the market that aren't selling. But I think interesting, the fact that we're already seeing it, the fact that historically we always see it, but we've got this variable of rates coming down. What do you think? Interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, I think, we'll just to see if they come down enough to, so we're looking at, what was it I saw? So as of last night, a 30-year fixed 6.452%. That's pretty nice. FHA 30-year fixed. So that was conventional. So then a FHA 30-year fixed 6.3. And just look at this one.
This one's amazing.
VA 30-year fixed 5.9.
Wow, so, in the 5s. Yeah. VA fixed. Wow.
Yeah. And if you can do 15-year, you can get a 5.7.
Yeah, but to me, the people that have the VA financing, I love it. So that's really good. And we've got some of our buyers who are, so I'm very, very excited for them. Now I was thinking, as I was going through this, so I was thinking about like my version of a doom loop. Okay. And so there's actually like a real phrase that it has to do with the housing banking sector. Okay. And how it interacts. But to me, I was thinking about my own version. So I have to show this to you guys. Okay. This is what I see, and I see it a lot. Okay. I'll talk to people and they start to get excited in the fall. And part of it is because the housing crash videos will tend to really lend to this, because they're really seeing authentic price drops, right? And so you'll see more excitement in the housing crash sector. And I think sometimes a lot of what the housing crash videos say has a lot of truth to it, but sometimes it does not. And then sometimes I'll yell at the computer screen saying, "You're completely wrong. Why aren't you saying that?" But plenty of times, I mean, there's a lot to what they say. I mean, like when they talk about how prices shot up post-pandemic, they're right.
Yeah,
they did. And when they talk about it's never done that before, they're right. So they're not.
we never had.
Yeah.
There was a lot of nevers in that time.
That is a good point. No, the man makes a good point. That's true. Anyway, so this is what I see. All right. And I see it happen again and again. I see people watch these housing crash videos, or just in general, they get really excited that prices are starting to come down. Like we're already seeing it, right? But a lot of times what people don't know is that this happens every fall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That the prices go down every fall. And so then they're like, prices are dropping. I'm excited. But they're going to wait it out, because what they think is this is just the beginning. Right. You hear the word finally.
Yeah.
Like you'll see like titles like "It's finally happening." Right. Because I mean, like really what people want is they want prices back to post-pandemic. They want it right back to what it was before then.
Yeah.
Which would take like a 30% drop in prices. So there's a lot of excitement, but then they kind of are like, they need to wait because they don't want to hit it at the wrong time. So they're going to wait. But then the problem that you run into is then prices start going up again. Okay. And I remember, I think I really thought it was going to happen. Like I really thought it was in 2022. Like when we went from like 3% to 7% in a matter of a few months, I was like, we are going to see it now. And to me, like my own personal definition is just like real informal and non-technical, is just if we see a sustained price drop that goes beyond seasonality. Beyond seasonality. To me, that's like the definition of like a significant correction.
Actually, that's interesting too, because if you think about that, we had the rate went way up in August 22, and so then people just dropped out of the market, so prices went down. But then generally, just as always, first quarter prices started coming back up.
Yeah,
but it just was slower than usual.
Yeah, well, it finally tempered like it should have. It finally became more like in keeping with what it should have been. But I will say,
prices did come up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I was one of them.
Some people were listing like crazy prices in the March to June timeframe because they were thinking, well, okay, here we are, we're coming back up again.
Yeah.
We're gonna look like we were year before this time.
Like
last couple years.
Like I really thought. Yeah. I mean, I was just like, we're going down from here. Like, and then I was even surprised when I was like February, March. Oh my goodness, we're trending up again. Okay. Like, so that was kind of like in my mind when I thought we were going to see like a sustained correction I thought it was going to be 22 to 23 and we didn't see it. Anyway, so this is what I see. My version of a doom loop is, and I've talked about a lot about this, is like they get excited in the fall, but the home prices dropping starts to kind of trigger fear. They're excited, but they're also a little bit afraid because, do you like that picture?
Nice.
Yes, I thought that was really nice. They don't want to catch a falling knife, right? And so if you're watching videos that support this, you're picturing like a 20% correction, a 30% correction. Well, historically, in the seasonal price drops, we get like 8 to 9%. So by January, we're down to that 8 to 9% decline, but they're holding off and they're waiting because they expect, that 20% decline, that 30% decline.
It doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I said, I think that a lot of what the housing crash people say is accurate. It's just in Dallas, it just hasn't historically been there.
Yeah.
But the seasonal drops are absolutely there. Anyway, so you see this fear of it's falling. Do I want to catch it midair? No, I need to wait, because if prices have dropped 9%, but they're going to drop another 10%, I don't want to catch a falling knife, right? And so you see that, and then they're like, well, I'm not going to buy until I see rock bottom, right? I'm going to wait until rock bottom. The problem with that is then it starts trending up again. So I think it's a frustrating thing. I've talked to a lot of buyers who are like, man, they waited out 2022 and 23, really feeling very strongly that we were going to see this correction. And they've kind of run into this, I guess, because they feel like they would have had equity, you know. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's going to be interesting what we see. I mean, seasonally, we always see that price drop, you know, from anywhere from 8 to 9.5%. We always see that every year. Will it be sustained? I'm actually doing a video where I'm talking about what reasons could contribute to it being a sustained, you know, correction. And
Nice.
yeah, and I don't know. As I was reading, I was like, these are maybes, you know, like here, and I give out some data and stuff, just to kind of see, you know,
Yeah. I don't know how much of a correction we'll have, as long as we continue to have people moving here and good business here, good, you know, availability of jobs, and the companies moving here, all that.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be hard to say there'll be much of a correction.
Like the article I read, it said, you know, oversupply. And I was like, we have a lot of that. People still sometimes will claim housing shortage. I'm like, I don't think so. We have a lot of new construction sitting around. So, you know, I see that. And so then, so that was a reason that would contribute to. So basically, as I was analyzing all these reasons, some of them, about half of them supported that it could happen. And half of them was like, yeah, this isn't going to happen. Like one of them said, interest rates stay high, that would support a correction. I was like, we're headed in the opposite direction. Interest rates are coming down.
Right.
And so to me, that was like, okay, that's kind of a con for thinking probably we're going to have a stronger spring than usual. You know, like this past spring was pretty sluggish, I felt like overall. But it depends on how low rates go down. And I think we're seeing some pretty good indicators that they are going to go down. So anyway, it'll be interesting, but clearly very vibrant, active fall, prices going down, interest rates potentially going down, this interesting opportunity. And again, don't characterize me as one of those people that always say it's always a good time to buy. Okay. Because I am not that person. I'm always saying if you cannot buy during spring and June, that's in your best interests. So, but anyway, so I do think some opportunity there. Better in the fall and winter, not so good spring, summer. You know, of course, the reverse is true if you're selling. You know, if you got to sell first, then you want to sell in the spring and summer. Anyway, let's read some comments. All right.
Prices are going to drop. I don't know. Well, they've already started.
Yeah, they've already started.
It's seasonality.
Yeah, it's seasonality.
So what kind of price? Yeah.
So we know the data supports that they're going to keep dropping. You know, through
for
typically like
3 more months.
Typically the bottom hits in like January, sometimes February. So it's the people the brave souls that get out there in the coldish weather. I say coldish because this is Dallas, and like at Thanksgiving, you know, and Christmas, those people that go under contract, then they're the ones that score like these huge discounts. Like if I could only show you guys the deals that I thought about showing on this, and I'm like, I don't know. Our clients probably won't want us to do that. But we negotiated some unbelievable deals. I think, one of our buyers had like $105,000 in equity from appraisal to what they actually paid. And the house was completely updated. I mean, it was gorgeous. So prices are already going to drop. And then your question is like, a sustained drop or a seasonal drop? Because that's the difference, right? Because if you're saying seasonal drop, then historically it always happens. If you're saying sustained, we haven't really seen that happen yet, right? We expected it, or I expected it. in 2022 and on. It didn't happen. So historically, we're not really seeing it. We've seen like small drops year over year, though. So I don't, in answer to your question, that's a good question. Seasonally, yes. Sustained, it's like you got to wait and see, you know, and then if February and March, they start going up again, then, you know, you kind of missed the boat for that year. So I hope that helps. All right. Now, Dale, you're going to have to do some looking here.
I did look up some on this rolling ridge. Honestly, we haven't had anybody looking up in Van Alstyne in quite a while. I do see they have KHOV and Cambridge Homes up there. Looks like KHOV has a decent amount of inventory. But they're all smaller homes. It's mostly,
are those all price drops? Whew.
1,800 and lower 2,000 square foot homes. So yeah, I don't honestly. I couldn't. They do. Who was it? Cambridge was advertising something like interest rates as low as 2.99%.
Wow.
So I don't. I'd have to look and see if that's a forward commitment or what they're doing with that. Is it a buy down?
Can you pull up that CMA again? What did that pull that up one more time? So I'm looking at the prices, and are they really ranging from the threes?
This is okay. I need to
all rolling ridge.
I need to wait now here. Okay, I'll
because if that's true, because it was kind of showing like 350s to 900, and if so, like my feed was okay. Dale's gonna bring it up just a little bit more here.
Yeah, so it's 3. Yeah, because there were some other.
Oh, okay,
places.
Okay.
It's like in
right.
350 to 450.
All right,
basically.
so that makes a little more sense. And you've got a couple different builders there.
Just KHOV and Cambridge.
Yeah.
Homes, yep.
Yeah. And so when I'm looking at his data here,
interesting for KHOV, they tend to build a little bit bigger homes than that, but yeah.
They do, and they tend to be a little higher priced. Mm-hmm. And when I'm looking at this, boy, I'm seeing a lot of price reductions. Mm-hmm. And one builder's doing it a heck of a lot more than the other, too.
KHOV is the one that has a lot more listed out here as inventory, depending on, I don't know about Cambridge, how much they have. See, if I look at their website, Cambridge says,
all right,
quick move-ins.
How many do they have?
Just shows
three. Okay.
Yeah.
So Cambridge, not as exposed, not as many quick move-ins, not as much inventory. And then KHOV looking a lot more exposed, showing a lot of price reductions. So kind of some opportunity there. Now, if he ran solds, we'd be able to see how much they're coming down.
Did I do that?
Yeah. See if you can run solds on there, and let's just see.
Oh yeah, there's some here.
Yeah. So you can do a quick CMA on those solds. Just select this.
Just all of them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's fine. And let's just see. So he's going to look up a CMA here and see what we're seeing in terms of. Let's see. He's pulling it up. Okay. So this is what I see. Yeah. A range.
Oh, there's some are 89. But.
One came down to 89% of the list price. So you have like 89, 92, but there are several that were at 100%. And so it would be interesting to compare and see if that 89 is KHOV. Is this 92 also KHOV, right?
I think most of this is actually those may be Cambridge.
Okay.
The 3.
So that's a long explanation. Sounds like you've got some opportunity there, and maybe you consider KHOV as
like Cambridge came down on the two lowest ones.
Oh, okay. So that's hopefully that helps. All right, let me see. Next comment: are you seeing a decrease in the quality of the new build homes? Well, I think since they brought in the T-ply, I think that's very questionable. We recently had a home inspection where there were some gaps in that T-ply. And of course, we were like, you're going to fix it.
They completely fix it.
And they completely fixed it.
I think it depends on who you ask. What you talking to when I go to inspections with a lot of inspectors are like, well, these are great homes. They're done well. They don't find much of any problems. And these are all well experienced inspectors have been around a long time. Technology has helped building to be much more efficient and better quality. So I think it just depends. A lot of it depends on the supply. Where issue and stuff like that. There's some.
Yeah,
So
and I'm also kind of
yeah.
wondering compared to what?
Yeah, compared to
Like,
yeah.
how far back are you comparing? Because if you're talking about 1950s when they used like the thick sheathing, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about 5 years or just before the pandemic, it's interesting is like on the T-ply sheathing website, they say, isn't this so great? You can do this so much faster. Right. And so they're talking about
Yeah.
like, well, we have a housing shortage. Do this and you can do it so much faster. You'll get through this building process so much faster. So I think this rush, we have this housing shortage we need to rush through. Now I know Bloomfield, they don't just use T-ply, they use a stiff, because I remember asking about this.
Yeah.
And overall, I've had a really good experience, especially the one in Crowley or South Fort Worth. She's outstanding. I think her name's Donna.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
yeah,
Donna Bolton, and she's excellent. Wow, just so informative and very knowledgeable about how their homes are built. Because I'm always asking, hey, what's your sheathing like? What's the stuff we can't see? And a lot of times the sales consultants, they have no idea. But Donna knew, and she said that they don't just use T-ply; they use the higher version of it plus a stiff foam board behind it.
I've talked to during these inspections and stuff, and talking with the building managers too. They're now saying, a lot of these homes are built from their outside walls. They're able to they're created to withstand at least 120-mile-an-hour winds and stuff. So
that would be.
So that's pretty good too.
And I think this is probably logical. But your better built homes are your more expensive ones.
Yeah.
Right. So you start seeing the higher quality of the fixtures and the appliances and the sheathing. In fact, I made a video where I talked about how, probably your first home purchase, you're probably going to have to deal with a home that's not as good a quality, right, to get your foot in the door. And then I went into all the things about making sure that you don't over improve it, making sure you can sell it, because you really don't want to stay in that home for long. Right. You want to be able to size up, use your equity, and keep moving up until you can get, because like in these affordable ones, the DR Hortons, I don't even want to talk about Lennar. Okay. You're not going to get you're not going to get nearly the quality that you can get like with Normandy, right, or Grand or Traditions. So probably in the ones that they're just trying so hard to make them affordable. Probably so.
They don't have anything I don't have trends for.
Hey, look, guys. Hey, look, Rhonda's on.
Hey, Rhonda.
I was wondering. I was like, where's Rhonda? She comes every week. Where have you been? There she is. All right. Well, hi. How are you? Glenn, do rents really drop? Yeah, rents really do drop.
The average is definitely been lower. And I've seen, we have rentals, and, so other people, and so I've looked up. And usually every year, or when it's coming around, renewal time, I can see leases are going up. But the last year they hadn't really gone up. So
yeah,
I'd say.
But I'm just seeing them longer in the market. Like I said, on Facebook, I'm seeing these ads circulating over and over again of homes for lease. Now I can tell you, in 2007, 2008. We saw rents drop so much. It was unbelievable because and we were doing more property management back then, and we were having to accept tenants with like 400 credit scores, 450. And then they would move out like in 6 months because they'd gotten a mortgage, like with a 450 credit score. Yeah. And so do rents ever really drop? I don't know if you meant like ever historically, but they absolutely do. And they did in 2008. It was very painful for landlords, across the nation to see these rents dropping the way they did. I mean, homes that we expected to lease for, $995, we couldn't get them leased for $695, It's because if you had a pulse, you could get a mortgage. I mean, it was crazy. Anyway, okay, so let's see here now. Prashant says, how much of a percentage Salina and Prosper will go down from current levels? Well, Dale's looking it up, but they're no different seasonally. That they encounter seasonality just like everybody does. He's going to look it up specifically to see.
Just to see what their single
so
family.
From like June to January, what have they done in the past?
Let's go. What should I do?
Yeah. June to January. So in January.
What you're saying, June? Okay.
Yeah, June would be the highest.
So June was 646,000 last year, and then January was way down, 563.
So, okay, do the math. What a percentage of it. Now you do the math. You're the more the math guy. Do the drop on that percentage of drops. So historically, it was a really big drop. Now I'm looking at 2024 and Salina has gone up quite a bit in price. So that's interesting because it will be very interesting to see how much of a drop we see seasonally, because we always see the seasonal drops, right? He's going to look up right now.
So that was a 13% drop.
Oh, really? Okay. So that was a pretty big drop that we saw last year. Very significant.
Yeah. But now it's up from, you say from January to, that's
January to June. Well, now this is August. Yeah. Or no, it's actually July is what it's showing. He's looking at it on his laptop. So last year, pretty steep drop. This year just depends. Again, we've got kind of two different things going on here. We've got your typical seasonality, which is always like 8 to 9.5%, but we've also got rates coming down. So it's really going to depend on how many people are all of a sudden like, I can afford it now, which leads into this question. With an anticipated mortgage rate decrease, and we can go back to that one if you want. Do you expect an increase in listings and or purchases, even though peak season is ending? Well, Jimmy, that's what we've been talking about for sure. That's what we're talking about is that wild card.
Rate decreases.
Mm-hmm.
Do you expect an increase in listings and purchases?
You know, Dallas has so much inventory right now that I don't know, increase in listings wise, these poor sellers, they can't get their homes. They're making these huge price drops. But that's really is going to be. And that's why I think there is opportunity here, that you have all of these, you have a ton of inventory, you have rates coming down. Will the buyers jump into the market in September, October, November when their kids are in school? You know, I just think that's a real wild card. Mm-hmm. I think there's an opportunity here where affordability could improve without prices going up. So I think that do I expect an increase in purchases? I would say next spring and summer that I would.
Definitely.
Yeah, I would. Typically prices go up in the spring and summer anyway. So I would say in the spring and summer, if we suddenly have affordability looking.
Well, we may get more. I mean, because just because of, as you said, we seem to be rate sensitive around here, but we'll see.
Yeah. You know, again, March tells us everything. If somehow we're going to have a sustained correction, we'll see it in February, March. We'll just see this continual descent. Yeah. If not, you know, typically we would see prices go back up again. And in March, I think that there's the possibility that we can see a strong spring and summer, certainly compared to what we just had. Rhonda, 2 phone calls. What? Let's see. Kat. Hi, Kat. It's good to see you. Hello. Let's see here now. Kay Razad says, do you do tax deed sales ever? I know exactly what they are, but no, we don't typically do that because we don't typically work with investors, and that's typically an investor purchase. I mean, same with things like auctions, anything on the auction block. Foreclosures, we don't do a whole lot of those, perfectly willing to, but we just don't work with investors. So generally speaking, we work with owner occupants. So we have some great realtors that we can refer out for investors, but we personally work with just the owner occupants. Sumith Divapali. Hi, Sumith. Hi, guys. How is Pecan Square looking currently regarding price reductions and inventory levels? He's going to look right here. He's looking it up right now. I love Pecan Square. I mean, it's such a neat area. The whole town center thing. And, you know, when we've shown it and found and brought buyers in there, they have like this little area where all the moms are sitting with their babies. It just reminds you of like how it used to be, how there was like this support, all the moms kind of being together. So I love Pecan Square. He's looking it up right now. So I'm going to come back to yours while he looks it up. Okay. Is now a good time to purchase a new home? It will be improving over time, right? So if you really want to be able to negotiate the best deals, think about when Dallas is the grayest and the most uninviting. You kind of feel like just in the doldrums, and plus holidays, you're busy, you're Christmas shopping, or you've got company coming in for Thanksgiving. That's the best time. If you want to know the best time to purchase a home, start looking October-ish, right? Offers in November. That's going to be when you get your steepest discounts. Okay. All the way into January, right? But January is when it tends to bottom out. So is now a good time? Now's a better time than June, but it's a better time than May. It's not the best time. The best time is still ahead. It's just going to be another month or two. What is this, August, mid-August? So September, October, in there, you'll see a better time. And I say that based on historical data, historical trends. All right. Do you have?
So if you look at in Pecan Square, if you look at overall sales in the last 90 days, their average, they average 96.5% of their list price. So they have had as low as, there's some that have had as low as 84%, and some have sold a little bit above list. So there's, well, let's see, it's 50, it's like, 50 sales over the last
So there's some
90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And there's decent amount of inventory there.
Oh yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot there, it looks like. I tell you what, I really like.
Or 86 active on the MLS right now for sale.
Wow, 86 in Pecan Square. That's a lot of exposure. It's not that huge to have that many. Now, I'll tell you what I really like about Pecan Square, depending on your budget, is you have some budget builders mixed in with some upper end builders. Okay, so you have like D.R. Horton. You have
David Weekley.
You have David Weekley. Okay, mixed in with Toll Brothers, right? And Coventry.
Highland Homes, Coventry.
Yeah, Highland Homes.
Toll Brothers,
so, for example, if I have a buyer who is in a low budget and they're like, I'm going to have to buy a D.R. Horton home, they're doing a forward commitment, I can get a 4% interest rate, then I will say something like, if you're going to do a D.R. Horton, surround yourself with greatness, buy in Pecan Square. Don't go out and buy D.R. Horton where the entire street is nothing but D.R. Horton, okay? Pecan Square is an excellent example of what you would want to do if you're on a lower end budget, but you want to be able to be near greatness because it has such a variety, you know, from Highland and Coventry to David Weekley and D.R. Horton. So hopefully that answered your question. And I think we've already seen this one. Is now a good time? Argyle or Justin? Argyle has the better schools, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely astounding. 100% of the students score above average in Argyle ISD. It's just astounding.
New school being built in Justin. They are building more in Justin. It's growing up quite a bit out there.
But school-wise, and because of that, your median sales price is going to be higher in Argyle as well. So, of course, a lot of that question depends on your budget as well.
And your second question there, usually it is inventory because they don't show a home being built. For one thing, you have very little negotiation room with a builder when you're having a home built from the ground up. They're not going to budge on their base price, and where you're going to get there, you're negotiating is how much you can get and updates, and then any type of incentives they may have, so which are usually around updates. So
I was going to say the same thing. Like with new builds, you have to consider that you can successfully negotiate without it just being price. Right. So if you can get like a huge design incentive or, you know, a structural phase, we've seen like the lot premiums being discounted. They hang on to price because they know you're getting equitable title, that you're not, it's, you know, if it's worth 500,000 now, they're in their minds, they're like, it's going to be worth 530 a year from now. So why would I come down from the 500? Or more. So with new builds, accepted list price, you're going to see when you actually see the new, let me say this. New builds really don't show up so much on the MLS because they would only be advertising the lot, right? Think about a new build, the concept of a new build.
And they don't put their lots on MLS.
Yeah, they don't put the lots on there. So new builds, you're not going to have MLS data because they don't put the lots on there, right? And because you pick out the floor plan that you want, you've got a package deal, floor plan plus lot. So there's nothing to put on MLS. So this is definitely inventory homes. So that's the answer to that. Atish, do you have data on Irving and Las Colinas? Data man, do your thing. Have prices gone down the last couple of months, or do you see prices going down? Man, I love Las Colinas. I just love that whole area. Enjoy just going out there and just kind of, and also when people talk about rentals, I always tell them, single family homes are great in single family areas, but in corporate areas, goodness, like corporate, I think Addison, I think Las Colinas, these high corporate areas. Anyway, then I think of rentals in that way. So no, I really like Las Colinas quite a bit. Dale's going to look it up and then we'll come back.
So what is we're looking for?
He's wondering, do you have data? Have prices gone down the last couple of months?
Change my criteria again.
So he's going to look right now. But
actually, two ways to look at this. Let me look at trends first.
Oh yeah, good point. Good point. You can't separate Irving from Las Colinas when you do these searches because Las Colinas is actually technically not a city.
So Irving shows, so they went down from May into June from so their median sales price 409 to 340, which is a pretty good drop. But now they're coming back up and median sales price is at 390. It's been like that every month almost. Looks like it's up, down, up, down, up, down. So yeah, they are from a year ago. It's definitely down.
Okay.
So maybe looking, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Year over year, it's down.
So definitely year over year. And it's probably, again, historically, it's going to go down in the fall. That's what they do. Let's see here now. Thank you for answering my previous question. I'd love to get your opinion on purchasing a new house and renting out my current one, even if it leaves little or no or negative cash flow. I wouldn't do it for negative cash flow. And if you're doing it for little cash flow, then you need to make sure you're taking in every expense. And by that, I mean even like repairs, vacancy projections, okay? Because it's easy to think you're going in with no cash flow and then you have these huge losses. It's having owned rentals ourselves.
Hardly, I think it would depend on how much your negative cash flow is in the area that you're, that it is. If it's a good area where where your rent demand will go up, then maybe.
That's a good point.
If you can, if you can recover, if you can have an ROI of, within a couple of years or something like that, maybe so. But yeah, that's.
Yeah, I think I personally would not do it only because when it goes vacant, just in 1 month, your losses are so huge. And if you already have a negative cash flow, then everything you have is a continued loss versus if you're making, $500 a month, suddenly it goes vacant. You're going to lose a few thousand just getting it ready, painting and whatnot, but you've at least profited during the other time. So personally, I'm not a negative cash flow person. I would want, I would want a strong cash flow position. And honestly, that's why, like when people ask me, investors, I'm like, we just haven't worked with them as much just because it's like not a great environment for that. And we're not ones to lie. We're not going to say, buy so we can get paid. We're going to tell you, no, this isn't going to cash flow. So it's like, that's kind of the reason that we tend to kind of not work with investors so much is because we're just brutally honest. We always are. So let's see. Same question there.
So we have, okay. What?
Yeah. Okay.
No, wait.
All right.
We have two clients that one's going to close next week in Cross Creek Meadows and another one is actually building. So it is a really nice neighborhood. It has some good builders as Normandy and Taylor Morrison, Trophy, and drawing a blank. I think there was one more, but anyway, nice looking. And they've already got the main amenity area almost completed. Has real nice tree areas around the sides. Got walkways through that, and it's just south. I mean, it's like it's going to be connected or right next to the 100-acre park that Salina is building up there. But they're also saying though that it's probably going to be a pretty good sized community. They're talking about maybe a 4,000 home community overall.
Wow.
So over time, so there's going to be several phases. Nice looking community. They're building pretty fast there.
Two of our buyers have thought so.
Yeah.
And the type of buyer we typically work with buyers that are very analytical and thorough, and they typically will look a lot. So the fact that they've selected Cross Creek Meadows tells you that they looked at a lot and brought and chose that. So that kind of gives you an idea as well. Okay. I know this depends on what you're looking for. what factors would you say to look at to help decide between going for a new build versus pre-owned? All right. Advantages to both. For example, if you have to sell your house, a new build is so much less stressful because you can spend all of your time finding your house, picking it out, design center, structural upgrades, all that. And then have like 6 months and then worry about selling your house. Right. So like from that standpoint.
So that would also depend on your timing too, how quickly we need, you need to be in. So you could purchase inventory for new construction.
If you have to sell first, you're not going to be able to get the builder to accept a contingency on one that's already ready to move in.
The other thought is right now for the same prices of homes and such, like a similar ages of homes, pre-owned and new construction and inventory, you're likely to get a better deal, like on interest rates or closing costs concessions or something like that. If you're willing to look at older homes and pre-owned in some really nice areas that are been fixed up nice, you might get a better deal with those.
So with your quick move-ins, your inventories, okay, you're going to have, if you find one that's going to be ready within a month, right, and you've got the buying power, you're going to have a motivated builder. You're going to be able to potentially get a deep discount depending on the situation. You could potentially get a forward commitment. I don't know if that term, is that familiar to you? I've talked about it a lot, but a forward commitment is basically when they offer you like 4% for 30 years, fixed rate.
The builder already paid money ahead of time for it to buy that rate down. So
right. And so especially if you're surrounded by nicer homes, you get in cheaper and you're surrounded by these nice custom built homes. Your home and you're going in with equity, right? And so from that standpoint, an inventory home has a lot of advantages. You're going in with a lower price than what everybody else is paying on their custom builds. On the custom new build, on your custom new build, you can have much more control on the construction phases. You can have 3 or 4 inspections. With inventory, you're like, man, I hope they sealed everything up before they put the brick on, right? If you're just now coming on the scene and it's ready to go and you're negotiating a good deal, right? Then you're blind as to what went in those walls. You're blind as to the things you can't see. You can still get an inspection.
Same way as in pre-owned too, but
that is true. With pre-owned, it's the same way. But with a new build, you're out there with your pre-pour. Like, what's some things that they find, on that first inspection?
Pre-pour, so that's the inspection that they do before they pour the foundation. They have to get everything ready. They have to have the plumbing in the ground and the forms around where it's going to put it, and the connections to the utilities and that kind of stuff. It's usually you don't get as much out of that one, but it's more just to make sure that they actually got the forms right and it's a clean area, and they don't have things falling in the holes where the plumbing goes and that kind of stuff. That it's not sloppy or something like that. So it's
And so that's your first inspection.
There's some the builders go through some very strict inspections for that. They have to have engineering certificates for this, and then the city does multiple inspections themselves also for that. So
and then you can also do pre-drywall.
Yeah, and that one's pretty nice because then you get to see what's all inside of your walls, where everything is located, and you have a little help from the inspector to note where those are, and if they did the sheathing right, and if they did the aligning the your supports correctly.
That's true.
And putting and those kind of things, and then plus, so they are giving you pictures. You can take pictures, and then the builder's also giving you pictures too, so where everything is. So that was pretty nice.
Like I know in our situation recently, there were quite a few things in the pre-drywall, and they fixed them. They were like, you're going to fix these. Well, if we hadn't known, right, what was inside those walls, that could have been all those issues, and you just wouldn't know.
Yeah. They hadn't had their they hadn't actually had the builder at that point had not had their inspection yet from the city yet.
Okay. So that probably would have been fixed anyway. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. You can get more quality control with a new build. You can kind of monitor it more, but with an inventory, you can go in with more equity. Now I say that, and you have to keep in mind that by the time you buy that new build, it's already worth more than what you contracted for as long as values trended up like we would anticipate, right? Because you're getting equitable title. You contract at what it's worth right then in, let's just say September, and you close on it in, let's just say June, right? So all that time that the market has gone up, you get all that equity. The contractor, the builder doesn't get to say, no, we're going to sell it for what it's worth right now. No, you contracted back in September, you got what it was worth then. So to a degree, you'll still have equity going in with the new build as well, as long as the market has been favorable. Anyway, hope that makes sense, gives you a lot to chew on there. And you're welcome. Thank you for both answers. You are welcome. Okay, let's look. This is our last comment so far. Builders in Mosaic in Prosper told me the developer is increasing the land value up $100,000 in the next phase, which will lead to price increases across all the builders. Is this a scare tactic? Well, I know that they do that. Those scare tactics, those high pressure tactics. Most of the time when they throw those out there, our buyers are like, fine, we'll move on. There's more fish in the sea, like I'm going to find someone that's not going to do that. And then it doesn't work for them. Are they going to increase the land value by that much? I mean, I guess depends on what size of lot you're talking about there. Cause I know Mosaic has the 40s all the way up to the 70s. So I would think you're probably talking about the 70s there.
Well, is that per lot though? It isn't. I'm not
increasing
sure
the land
lot.
value up 100,000. That's all she says.
Yeah. So I don't.
Builders in Mosaic and Prosper.
That's
they can be
land values are going up. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and they can be accepting offers at 90% of list price, and they're going to tell you they're about to raise their prices. They always tell you that. They always, and it's part of the idea of building FOMO. Like you need to act right now. Do not take a minute to think this through because tomorrow prices will be higher, right? And so that's what you see a lot of. So that is a typical thing they would say. But that being said, Prosper is one of the higher demand areas. Prosper and Salina are more high demand. So
yeah. Well, if they look also, Mosaic's getting a lot of demand. Well, for one thing, it's been talked about forever coming on, and then finally they're starting to build it. But it's also the same developer as Winsong Ranch, and people love Winsong Ranch. So it's
yeah. Why? Oh, this is a good question. Why do north-facing lots have a lot premium in new build communities, yet it doesn't seem to matter on older homes? Is that premium worth it come resale time? It's because, it's both a climate thing, like people like the way the sun hits on their house at certain times, as well as a cultural thing. So for many people, culturally, it's more desirable to have a north-facing lot. Although, so for some, culturally, it's better to have east, so we've seen it in all different ways.
There's been a lot more east and north-facing demand, say.
Yeah, and so it depends too on, so like it's both, because I've had people who culturally couldn't have cared less, but they're like, I want the sun to face this and this way at this time of the day.
I personally would like a west-facing home so that my backyard in the evening is cooler.
Oh my goodness, you have one.
I do.
What are the odds? Yes, we have a west-facing home, and it's fantastic. We get shade, and it's great.
Yeah. So that's why it's more about demand.
It is. It's about demand. Yeah. It's culture. It's important for some cultures to have different facing and orientation lots. So that is.
Is it worth it in premium? Yeah. I see you're asking about though for resale. Maybe. it depends on what that demand's going to continue to be like, but yeah.
That's a good point, because a lot of times I'll see advertised on the MLS a listing of a pre-owned home that'll say, south facing or north facing lot. And you don't necessarily see that it goes all that much faster.
You don't notice the price difference as much with a pre-owned because you're not paying. You don't have separated.
That's a
you
good
don't
point.
have a broken down pricing of what your price, for a pre-owned home. But you can look on the county appraisal district and see what their tax appraising that land for, but it's not necessarily going to be any different for north facing versus south facing at that point. So
that is an excellent point. You don't see that distinction in the pre-owns. Yeah.
But it may go faster possibly in a pre-owned area if there's a lot of demand for those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Facings. So.
Well, everyone, it has been a pleasure seeing you tonight, having you for happy hour and sitting here and talking real estate, which is like our favorite topic in our family. And for that, we're going to call it an evening. We're going to go have some dinner.
So long.
All right. And we will see
Have a
you
great evening.
guys next week.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.